Hi guys, it's Kelly from Cards by Christine here with you on a Thursday evening to share with you the tear and tuck technique. All right, so here is my sample card of what I am dubbing the tear and tuck technique. So last week we talked about tearing, and I'll go over that a little bit more again this time, but I saw this card and I cased it using tearing, but I love how these intricate dies kind of peek out of the torn strips. And you could really do this with any color scheme and a wide variety of different dies. And it doesn't even need to be detailed dies. It can be any like stamped and cut image. So there's really endless possibilities here. But what I'm starting with is pieces of cardstock, and I'm going from bluish to pink with, let's see here how well I can do. I think it's Bermuda Bay, Coastal Cabana, Pool Party, Blushing Bride, and then ending with Polished Pink. So that's my ombre effect, and I've got cardstock that's approximately 4 inches wide by 3 inches tall, and this will be enough to make 2 cards. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your strip, now this is Blushing Bride, and tear it roughly down the middle. Now, as you tear, the faster you tear, the straighter the tear line is going to be. However, I like when I tear to kind of weave back and forth so that I get some texture to the tear. So where I wove, now my tear lines are, oh goodness, I'm a bit off on here. Now my tear lines are a bit more, have more character to it. So I'm going to continue to do that with all of my sheets of cardstock. And in doing so, I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about tearing. So like I said, I'm kind of tearing back and forth to get more of that texture. And then how I'm getting 2 out of this, as you can see, I'm tearing towards myself, and the top has this nice torn edge look to it. Then the piece that I'm tearing towards me, I'm just going to flip over, and I'll have that edge with all that texture. So last but certainly not least is the Polished Pink, and in all honesty, I don't even need to tear that one because of how it lays out. So I'm just going to quickly snip this in half. And then for the technique, I am using the dies from the Artistically Inked Suite. I'm just trying to see where I laid the case, and I don't know that I'm going to come up with that. My boys were helping me out today, so my room is a little bit of a mess. So I'm sorry I can't come up with that name right off the top of my head. But there are some beautiful, intricate dies in that set. So I chose the leaves and the big flower bloom. So I'm going to start with my card base upside down. This is, I took a little bit of a learning curve on this. My first sample did not turn out the best. And I actually intended for it to go this way, but I really liked how it looked when I turned it around, where it looked like the flowers were coming out of the tear instead of falling down from the tear. So I actually made, let's see here, now let's get it the right way. I made another sample of it that way. So then what I did was, let's see here. Again, I'm going to turn my sample upside down, and I'm going to lay my colors out in order. just to kind of get a rough estimate of about how much room I have. Okay, so top to bottom, kind of want to center it so that you get a pretty even amount of color, of each of the colors showing out. Now, I have, and I kind of learned through doing this, what portions of the die cut images I used. So, rather than cut full images, I just used scraps and cut the portions that I knew I needed, if that makes any sense. So my first one, I'm going to be using this portion of the flower. So, and I also kind of laid it down like this. Now I'm going to trim off some of the excess, not because you necessarily need to, but it just makes it easier for gluing as well. So I'm just going to kind of tuck this under. So the first step really is just getting an idea of how it's all going to come together before you even do any gluing. Okay, then I took the rosebud portion and I'm going to kind of separate it from the other piece, because I do think I'm going to use that other piece yet. So now I just kind of laid it out that they're going back and forth across the page. So I put, you know, like that flower on that side, and then I put this flower on the other side. And I brought in the leaves. I'm actually using the leaf die upside down because I feel like it goes this way and I need it to be on this other side. So I flipped it over, and then I realize here that I cut the wrong set of 3 leaves out, so I'm just going to tear that one off, and I'll end up gluing this one on its own. And I'm going to bring in the next layer for layering purposes. And then I have this portion left. And I'm going to take, let's see here. I think I'm going to cut, I knew I didn't do a perfect cut here, so I'm just going to make this work however I can, because I really missed a little bit of the ball on the portion that I was looking to get. So let's see here. Maybe we'll go like that. It's not as big as I wanted it, but we'll make it work. Okay, so when I have it relatively laid out, put my sandwich back together. Now all my layers are moving, but that's relatively what it's going to look like. Then the next step is to start gluing. So then I'm going to bring in my glue. Let's see here. I'm going to use my silicone mat and a dauber to help glue the intricate pieces down. So, I have a dauber that is designated for glue. This is a great way to glue down intricate pieces. I did a tip on this quite a while back, but you can always find all of these things in the archives by searching. So, like, you could search tip, or you could search, and I'm going to scooch this up into the frame. You can search tip to see an archive of all of the tips, and I think it was called Gluing Intricate Dies. So you could search intricate or glue or dies, and you'll find the relevant things that pertain to those keywords. So that's a kind of little tip for you. So then the next step that I did was glued the intricate pieces onto its corresponding layer. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Daub some glue on them so they get nice and sticky. Now, the more care that you took in laying these out, the better. But I kind of, oh no, sorry, pulling off the frame here, but just tore a little bit. That's okay. So I was saying the more care that you took in laying them out, the better, because then you'll have a better idea on how you want to lay it out as you're gluing it down. And that's kind of what that whole preparatory step was about, was figuring out where you wanted to put your dies so that you know where to glue them when you get to the gluing phase. Okay, so then I'm going to put this guy here, and then that extra leaf that I cut on the wrong side of the branch, I kind of just tore off and put right there. Okay, and the last layer is Coastal Cabana and this little piece. And let's see here. Okay, we've got on this side, this is the piece that I didn't quite cut. So this is my first sample, my least nice sample. And you can see I cut kind of the right portion, but I missed this whole part of it. So I'm going to put him down right here and call it good enough, and then trim off this. There's a lot that goes into these tips and techniques, so we really hope you appreciate them. And like I said, this was my first round. It wasn't bad, but it improved as we went through. So, yeah. So then, okay, now the next step is to go ahead and glue down onto your card base. Now, I'm getting a little confused, is a manner of speaking, about the top and bottom of the card, and that's okay, because in the end it's all gonna flip out how it needs to be. I'm just using this extra glue because I don't want it to go to waste. That's not typically what I would do, but so I'm just going to evenly center this on the card. For this particular design, I'm going to bring a stitched rectangle on the top, so it doesn't really matter exactly where it goes, but all of that's going to get covered in the end. So just going to go ahead and put some glue on each of the strips and glue them into place. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you could assemble this. I am in no way saying this is the right way or the best way. This is just the way that I did it. If you have any ideas that you think make more sense, definitely drop them in the comments. But what I think, sorry, going to concentrate just for a second there. I had a couple ideas as I was doing this as to what I could do to make it even better, I wasn't going to bring another step into the process. So I'm just picking off some gummy. But a couple of thoughts that I had is you could Stella each individual white cutout. Might be really beautiful. Now you can see my spacing isn't perfect on this by any means. So there's probably going to be sections of more of one color, less of other colors. So just going to go ahead and trim that off the bottom first of all. And the spacing is going to be what the spacing is going to be. It's just kind of how it's going to shake out. So that is all the layers. Now I'm going to switch over to my sample card because I'm not going to walk through any more of the steps because the video already is getting to be long enough without that. So I'll just walk you through on my sample card. I did Stella on this one. I don't know if you can tell. I did that after the fact. In my gabbing, I forgot to do it on the card we just put together. But anyways, in essence, what you could do is Stella over the white intricate dies before you glue them down. I do think that adds some very nice detail. But, so I glued these onto my card base. My card base is basic white. It's 4 1/4 by 11 scored at 5 1/2, so it opens vertical. When you use basic white or very vanilla for your card bases, it is best practice to use the thick basic white or thick very vanilla. You just want to do that to give your cards more integrity. And then I took a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 whisper white, die cut the largest stitched rectangle out of the center of it. Didn't use that piece. I used the frame that it created and took foam strips to bring it above my layer that we just created with all the different colors and dies. Bonus tip, if you don't have foam strips, you can take the edge of your dimensionals and cut really skinny strips to create that full foam strip around your frame. I did not have foam strips, so that is what I did. Worked out very well. I was impressed. Okay, then I took the Happy Birthday in Memento. This Happy Birthday is from the Artistically Inked stamp set that coordinates with these beautiful dies. And to tie in a little draw to that black, I used matte black dots as my embellishment. Tons of embellishments would look beautiful on this card. I just kind of wanted to tie to that black. The other thought I had was that I could have used Bermuda Bay to stamp the sentiment, but I do like how that black is standing out there. Didn't use ribbon on this card. There's a lot of texture with the torn edges, but you easily could use ribbon, maybe in conjunction with that sentiment or a different area on the card as you see fit. So this was my tear and tuck technique, featuring a wide variety of colors and some beautiful intricate dies. So what do you think? Do you like it? And as always, if you do use this technique to make a card of your own, please share. We love to see your creations come to life. I hope you had a wonderful Technique Thursday. I hope you caught Chris on her live card making class tonight, and look forward to seeing you again next week.